It is back to school season, and if you're anything like me, the start of a new school year always feels equally exciting and also completely overwhelming. Of course, it's time for new classes, new notebooks, new planners, but it's also the time when deadlines and lessons begin to pile up. If you don't start organizing early on, you will find yourself stressing out on your first few weeks of classes. So, to help you ease your way back into school and make your student life more manageable, I've created a student-centered Notion setup that will help you stay ahead, on track, and keep everything in one place. One important note though, before we get started, I understand that not everyone has the budget for extras during school, so while the full template is available for purchase, just a small cost, you can absolutely follow along and build it yourself as I walk you through it. So let's first take a tour of the new dashboard just so you can familiarize yourself with everything that's in here. On the left, we have a directory section where you can find all of the pages and databases that are important to the functioning of this entire dashboard. Below that, we have a capture section which will allow you to create either a new note for a lesson or a new task on your calendar. In the middle, there's a database for all of your courses sorted by semester, and each page stores all of the important info and learning materials for each course. On the right is an inbox where you can add a quick note, a reminder, anything that may pop in your mind throughout the day, and a section for all relevant important links for your program, just so you can quickly access them whenever you need to. Below all of that is a section for weekly planning. So this is where you can organize your to-do list for the day and also for the rest of the week. To help you out with that, I've added two lists on the right. One is a list of all tasks due for the day, and the other is a list of all tasks due for the week. These lists automatically filter out those tasks from your master calendar below, so you don't have to go back and forth when weekly planning, and so you don't have to open each day in your calendar when using your phone. So as I've mentioned, we also have a master calendar below for all deadlines, tasks, and assignments for your courses. When I was organizing and building the structure for this dashboard, I wanted everything to be intuitive, whether you're using your laptop, your iPad, or your phone. So when you open this dashboard on your phone, hopefully everything feels natural, easy, and comfortable, the same way you feel when using it on your laptop. Alright, now that I've walked you through what's in this dashboard, let me guide you through how everything is connected with each other and how you can set it up step by step. By the way, if you haven't watched my in-depth Notion tutorial a few videos back, please do watch that first before you dive into this template, because that will cover all of the basics you need to know before setting this template up for yourself. Now, this is exactly how the template will appear once you download it from my site. As you can see, each section has a little callout block with instructions, so you'll always know what to do. You can choose to keep these blocks while setting this dashboard up, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to remove everything for now. To do so, hover over the leftmost side of each block, click on this vertical ellipsis button to open up the menu, and then click on delete. Now, let's start by setting up your courses. Make sure to start with this one because everything else in this dashboard connects to the courses you'll create here. Let's first rename this entire database to your program. In my case, that's biology. I prefer to omit this title because I already have a page title at the top, so I'm just going to click on the settings, layout, and then toggle this database title off. Now, let's create a new page. I already have a page here labeled Course A, which you can reference while you're still navigating this template. But since I'm walking you through every step in this video, let's go ahead and create one from scratch. You can change the icon to whichever emoji you want, and you can also change the page cover. Each page in this database will automatically have all of these properties that you can fill out. So say I'm creating a page for our microbiology course. Let's change the course code to MCB 101. Let's add the course description. There you go. Where the room or building is located. You can also indicate what type of course it is in your program, whether it's a lecture or laboratory component, the year and semester at which you're taking the course, and your professor. Say that's Professor Y. Now, this property is actually a relation property. Relation properties in Notion essentially creates a connection between two databases. In this case, for example, the courses database is connected to the professor's database, which you can find on your homepage. So when you go to your professor's database, you can also see all of the courses that they're teaching. Same thing with your courses, you can see all of the professors who are teaching this specific course. Below all those properties, you can add more details about your course. course, the schedule, the number of credits, any prerequisite courses, and the link to your course's portal. You can also upload any course-related files. So for me, that includes our course syllabus and the Google Drive folder to this course, which has all of the learning materials. Below that is a section for the course outline. So usually at the start of every semester, professors hand out a syllabus or course guide where you can find all of the modules that will be discussed every week. This is where you can organize that. Again, let's rename this title and then toggle the title off. Let's add a module. There are already modules here because of the sample course page I created earlier, course A, but you can just delete these ones later on. Rename this to History and Scope of Microbiology, for example. Let's open up the page so we can get a clear view of what's in here. Indicate the module number, the course, MCB 101, the dates covered by the module, for example, if that's from June 1 to, let's say, June 7. And then these two relation properties you can disregard for now. Underneath these properties, you can again fill out all the details regarding this module. Once that's done, you can go back to your course page, click on this filter button at the top, and then set the filter to the specific course code, in this case MCB 101. This way, you'll only be able to see all of the modules that are related to this specific course. This is also already sorted by module number, so you don't have to worry about arranging them chronologically. When you're done adding all of your modules, you can go ahead and move forward with your course notes below. Same thing as before, rename this title, and then toggle it off. Create a new page, say that's Lesson 1, Important Dates in Microbiology. Open up the page, indicate your course, make sure to stay consistent when adding tags, when this lesson was discussed, and under which module this lesson is. If you may notice, this property is yet again another relation property. So if you go back to our course guide and open up that specific module, we can see all of the lectures that are covered under this module. Make sure to set the filter of your course notes to the correct course code, because otherwise you'll also see all of the notes for all your other courses in here. Now, within your syllabus, professors also usually indicate when important exams are scheduled. This is why we have a coursework section in each course page. So say we're adding a midterm exam. Open up the page, indicate the course, again, under which module that exam is, the type. There are a few options you can choose from, but since this is an exam, let's choose exam, format that's individual, year and semester of the course, and then the date when the exam is scheduled. Once you set this due date, the countdown property will automatically tell you exactly how many days are left before that assessment. I'm gonna go over this one and the rest of the properties in detail later on, but for now, let's go back to our course page. Add all of the other assessments that were announced by professor at the start of the semester, and again, set the filter to the correct course code. The next thing to do is to add all the books and references that were indicated in your syllabus. You can choose to upload a file, or you can even link a website by using a web bookmark. Alright, that's one course down. If you have more courses, you can definitely add more by just following the same steps we did earlier. Now, if you go back to our homepage, I have this button right here which will take you back. You can see that there's also a courses database in the middle. How is that any different from the database we created earlier? Basically, they're the same database, but only with a different view. So in our previous course page, we can see all of the courses in our program listed together. But in our homepage, the courses are organized by semester, so you can easily access the courses that you're taking right now without all the extra clutter. I've already created this one for your convenience, but if you want to create one from scratch, just type in the / and linked view of database. What does this mean? So instead of creating a new database every time, a linked view allows you to use the same original database, but this time already filtered for your needs. So you already have a main database and you just want to create a mini filtered version of it. Any change you make on the linked view will also reflect on your main database. So now choose your courses database, select the gallery view, rename this to the year and semester, and you're done. If you're using this template though, I've already set these filtered views by semesters, but if you have more semesters, you can just click on this plus button at the top, select gallery, again follow the same steps we did earlier. You can change the card preview to either the page cover or content. I prefer to have the page cover just because it's much cleaner to look at, and then click on done. Once you have this linked view, click on filter at the top and then set the filter by the year and semester. So now only the courses that you're taking in your first year, second semester will appear. This is also how I set up all the other semester views you see here. Let's move on to the next page in this dashboard, the course guides. guides. This page contains all of the course guides of all of your courses. Now wait, didn't we just edit the course guide earlier when we created a page for MCB 101? Yes, we did. This course guide page is your main database. The one in your course page is actually just a linked view, similar to what we did in our courses database. So every time you see an arrow beside the database title, that means it's a linked view, a filtered view, if you will. It's not the main database. If we don't use linked views and we just create a separate course guide database for each course page, we will have a hard time finding a specific module from a course that we took, say, 2 years ago. But with linked views, if you don't want to go through the hassle of opening up a course page and finding a specific module, you can just go directly to this course guide page and find all the modules already laid out for you to see at a glance. If we go to the next page in our dashboard, course notes, we can see another parent database which has all of our notes for all of our courses. So what we have in our course page, again, is just a linked view. It is filtered to show only the notes that are relevant for MCB 101. Now, every time you create a new note, you'll see that it will already come with a structure, a section for key points, questions, takeaways, and for references. This is because I've already set up a template for this database, which you can see if you click this drop-down button. Now, while I don't use Notion for my notes, I know several of you have requested this to be a part of the template, which I totally understand, so I made sure to create just a general note-taking template. You can definitely edit this to your own note-taking workflow and structure, so creating a new note now becomes much faster and more efficient. A great thing to note though is I added this Notion AI block here, so once you finish taking your notes, you can just click on generate, and Notion AI will summarize all of the important points mentioned in your notes, and I think that's a great help for a lot of students. I'll circle back to this grades tracker later on. Let's go over the other pages first, because the grades tracker will be much easier to follow once we talk about the master calendar. In our professors page, we have all the details of each professor in our program. As you can see, we have Professor Y right here, whom we added as a professor to MCB 101 a while ago. You can also indicate their faculty department, their position, office hours, and their contact details within this database. The budget tracker is super simple and super straightforward. We have an income database on the left and an expenses database on the right. Each time you have to add an income or an expense, you just have to click on this plus button below. The database will then automatically calculate the sum of either your income or expenses per month. We've covered all of the pages in our directory. Let's talk about the capture section, probably one of my favorite additions to this new template. These are buttons you can click to create either a new note in your course notes database or a new task in your master calendar, all directly from your home page. So if you click on new note, you just have to name the page with the lesson title, say that's lesson 2, label with the appropriate course, and this button will automatically state the date to when you created this note. Afterwards, you can proceed to writing your notes. If you go to your course notes page, you can see lesson 2 is already added and organized there. Super simple, super efficient. The same thing happens when you use the new task button. Now, if you want to create a new button with the same functionality, again, just search for button in the tools. Let's set this up to add a new module, for example. Let's change the icon. Now, when button is clicked, add a new action, add a page 2, select your course guide database. You can edit how these properties will automatically set up once you click on the button, but we'll just skip that for now. Add an action below that, open page, and then choose the page added. So what this does is if you click on this button, it will create a new page in your course guide database, and it will also open up the newly created page front and center, so you can conveniently edit all its details. Of course, all within just a click from your home page. On the right, we have the inbox. This is just a regular callout block with bullet points, and then we have important links. You can add more if you need to access more links for your program, and to do so, just type in, say, Google Docs, highlight the text, and simply just add the link. I'm gonna skip over this weekly planning section for now. I'll walk you through the master calendar below first, since it'll help everything else make more sense. This is the parent database where you can plot all your assignments, deadlines, exams, quizzes, anything that has a due date. The coursework section in your course page earlier is therefore, again, only a linked view of this database. Now, there are a few filter views I've set up for this calendar. The first one is an inbox. So in the middle of a lecture or after a class, professors may spontaneously give out an assignment. When you're rushing, even if you create a new page using this new task button at the top, of course, you won't be able to fill out all these different properties. All those tasks with missing information get listed in this inbox. So later on, when you have the time to organize, you can easily see all the tasks that you need to sort out simply by looking at this inbox. You don't have to worry about losing them, and you can just quickly jot down these tasks as soon as needed. The next two views show all of your tasks regardless of the semester. The first one is a table and the next one is a calendar. The rest of the views you see here filter out your tasks based on the year and semester. So say we're creating a task at a specific date under the first year, first semester. As you can see, these three properties are already filled out. The rest you can do on your own. Below all these properties, you can also include instructions or other details related to this specific task, as well as your references, so you won't ever have to lose them. Now, let's talk about how to record your scores for each specific task. Whenever you receive a score for an assignment, you can go to the grades tracker page in the directory, and this is where you can record your actual score and the total score. This is just a linked view of your master calendar, so if you go back to your calendar and open up an assignment, you can see that you can also input your scores here. However, I decided to create a separate page, this grades tracker page, just so you can quickly record your scores without having to go through the trouble of searching for the assignments in your calendar. I'm gonna be honest with you, I tried my best to create a grade calculator right inside Notion, but I quickly realized that incorporating a calculator in this dashboard would only make the template difficult to use, especially for students who just want something clear and straightforward. There's just so much to do behind the scenes, formulas, relation properties, numbers, and I know that can be overwhelming, especially when you have other more important school stuff to think about. And also, every course's grading system is different. Some courses may be 40% exams, 30% projects, 30% written works. Other courses may have a different grading scheme. So trying to fit all that into this dashboard would make it super complicated. So to make up for that, I created a separate Google Sheet that already comes with this template, so you can still calculate your grades per course and per term, of course with your own grading system. It's a lot more flexible and way less overwhelming. We're done with the master calendar. Let's go back to the weekly planning section. I really thought about whether I want to integrate this weekly to-do list in the master calendar. You can definitely do so, but ultimately I decided to keep them separate because I fear it will just make things super complicated, and we don't want that. So how does this to-do list work? First, let's rename this, and then let's toggle the title off. Now, for example, we have a paper due next Friday. Let's create that on our master calendar below. Rename this to research paper, for example. Let's set the course to MCB 101. Module, let's select Module 1. For type, we can choose assignment and paper. Format, that's individual. For research paper, we can't just write everything in one go. Of course, there's the introduction, the methodology, results and discussion, etc., etc. This is where your to-do list becomes handy. Say we're writing the introduction on Monday. Let's create that task. On your to-do list, set the course to MCB 101, open the page, and then you can see a relation property named parent task. This is related to your master calendar. So when you click on this parent task, search for research paper, select that. Now, if you go back to your master calendar and open up the page for research paper, you can see I've hidden a subtask property. Since this is a two-way relation, you can see all the subtasks you need to accomplish for this specific parent task. If you're already writing the introduction, you can change the status to in progress, and once you're done, you can just update it. Once this week is done and you're planning for the next week, you just have to click on new group, rename this to week 2, and then the specific dates. You can even close the toggle for the previous weeks, even hide it if you want to, just so you can focus on the current week and not be distracted by all your past to-do lists. Now, a while ago, I introduced you to two lists on the right. One shows you all the tasks that are due today, and the other shows you the tasks due for the week. This, I found, has been so helpful when weekly planning. If you can guess, this is also another linked views of our master calendar below. For each of these lists, I've set up two filters. So it filters by date date and by status. With these lists, you don't have to scroll back and forth your master calendar and your to-do list when weekly planning, and you also don't have to open each day in your calendar just to see the tasks that are due when you're using your phone. You can see all urgent tasks and exactly how many days are left simply by looking at these lists. And that is our university dashboard. I really tried to incorporate each one of your requests in this one, so hopefully I was able to reflect that in this template. If you have any questions, if something was confusing, or if you just want to share how you're setting up your own system, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thank you so much for sticking around. I am wishing you a very meaningful semester ahead, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!